How many Frankensteins have there been? Dozens, probably. Like, a lot.
Millions, more like.
Millions of Frankensteins. It's a creature that is ingrained in pop culture, particularly around Halloween. I would say that the creature itself is more famous than the story, particularly in its original form. And so you have this kind of challenge here to make this film, 2025, Guillermo del Toro, something faithful, but also make something that is different and somewhat subversive, at least in the way that it looks and the way that it feels. Aside from the original, like 20s version, 30s, whenever it was, of Frankenstein, this is my first experience with the story and kind of critically engaging with it. And I mean, come on, you can't go wrong, can you? You just get a fantastic story by Mary Shelley. You put it with these incredibly talented creators and just bada boom.
Wow, you got it right there. Yeah, we've seen a lot of spoofs, a lot of references to Frankenstein across the horror genre, but I don't think I ever really criticized the story, like, fully experience it from the very source material. It has this magic, realistic setting with so much passion and so much love. One of my favorite things about Guillermo is that he's so fascinated with magic and fantasy. He has so many statues of every piece of horror that he has, and you can definitely see that he has so much fun just creating something out of fantasy.
Guillermo, during the press for Pinocchio, was the sweetest, most wholesome thing you'll ever see. He's there at award shows, holding his little Pinocchio, happiest
Here he
man.
is, here he is.
Here he
It's
is,
like,
it's the
yeah.
guy. But this is a completely different approach. For one, this is a 15, R-rated in America, I assume. It's definitely a more sinister, more gory film. But the core that makes this story so brilliant is just the commentary on life and monstrosity and creation.
This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
There are sequences in this film, three in particular, that I'm sure we'll come back to many, many times, but really, I think, understand the core of Frankenstein, as we all know it should be pronounced. And the first of those sequences is the creation in the rain with the lightning. It takes that iconic, it's alive feeling
It's alive.
of kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
horror and unnatural birth. Oh God, I was just sitting in the cinema. Well, because I saw it at the cinema and I was like, this is great.
Yeah, that whole sequence, the rain in the tower with the grotesque feeling of it's coming to life, and the music up, the score. The score was excellent in that
Oh,
sequence as well.
yeah.
That was so great. And the whole prosthetic design for Jacob Elordi's Frankenstein with the patches, with the skin, and, with the blood that's still oozing out. And it's so weird, but also fascinating to see Jacob Elordi. All I can think of is going back to Euphoria or going back to like his role as being the boyfriend or something. But here, his performance blew my mind. I was like, that's really good. Like how
Yeah.
much he personified that into the voice. That's a whole different actor right there. I thought it was great. I was like, oh.
Yeah. When I left the cinema, I was like, oh yeah, Jacob Elordi is so great. And my partner said, oh yeah, that is him from the kissing booth. And I was like, put some respect on his damn name. Let's not think about the kissing booth.
The
We're leaving that
kissing booth.
behind. Let's think
The
about
destruction but
Saltburn.
creation. That's funny. This is like
Oh.
the kissing booth that was the
Mm.
destruction maybe, and then this led to his creation, Frankenstein. So
It's a great performance. I love, obviously, this isn't necessarily a part of the performance, but before he is brought alive, he is strung up on this massive thing with his arms outstretched. Obviously, it's a metaphor for Christ, but it's just a great visual and shot by such a visionary filmmaker. The whole time, you just have to marvel at how this film brings to life its gothic feeling. Every Frankenstein needs to be monstrous, but also tender. And Jacob Elordi, he got that so well. I keep on saying Frankenstein, but as we all know, it is Frankenstein's monster, the creature. The
yes,
creature needs to be horrified with itself, with its own existence, like almost confused and ashamed at even being alive. And there's so many moments where the creature expresses his own pain at his continued existence.
yeah, it's so sad. He just questioned his own existence and then wanted to feel something. And you get to see that later on with this old blind man at this old cottage. And he learns so much through English, through storytelling, and through morality as well. I thought that was very subversive because we don't see a lot of that with Frankenstein's monster. It's more about getting chased after with pitchforks or guns. But this, I think that was a great way to have him understand the world a bit more. But this is Frankenstein's monster, and he feels so much disgust for himself. Like, why was I being created? Was I for scientific work?
Yeah, like, was I a mistake? That's a thing that I think many people can even empathize with.
Yeah.
Am I even supposed to be here? And that sequence with the blind guy and the creature learning, that's the second sequence that I was so incredibly interested in. The film is split up into 3 parts. We begin with the prelude, and then part 1 is Victor's tale, and then part 2 is the creature's tale. I'm not sure if that's how the book is arranged. I've never read the book. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people in the UK do it as part of their GCSEs, the end of high school, but not me. I did Macbeth. I did Inspectacles.
Spectacles.
I did Christmas Carol.
Christmas
like a
Carol.
real one. Those are
Oh.
the 3. Come at us in the
That's
comments.
the big 3. That's the big 3 that we
Yes.
did. Hell yeah.
I don't need no
hell yeah.
Frankenstein. No, I have been told it's an amazing book. I believe it does shift perspectives. When we originally cut to the creature's tale, I was like, oh, are we doing a Rashomon thing here? It's not a Rashomon thing.
Rashomon.
I was a
yeah,
little
this is
bit
great.
disappointed that it wasn't going to retell the events and we actually figure out that Victor isn't the good man that he pretends to be. But actually, the interesting thing about Victor's narrative is that Victor, much like the creature, this is the parallel between them. Victor also sees himself as awful and predatory and haunted by his past, but also tragic. And instead of it being like Victor's like, I was a good man, and instead of him telling that story, he just tells a story of, no, I am a bad person, and at every level I was consumed by vanity. And I like that unfolding. I eventually came to realize I don't need the Rashomon effect. I don't need it to be Victor tells a lie to the ship captain. Instead, he is somebody who is disgusted by himself in the same way that the creature is disgusted by itself. And I think that the ending, that sequence number 3, the ending was so beautiful. I guess we'll save it for spoilers. There are some people who don't know the Frankenstein story, so we'll save it for spoilers. But like, the
He
ending
comes
was...
alive? What do you
What?
mean? How?
No!
With bodies?
But like, yeah, no, I loved the parallels between the two.
Yeah, and it's more about the sins of the father. They
Yeah.
have so much weight from chasing after their dreams, but it comes with consequences. Oscar Isaac's character, with Frankenstein, he really wants to prove there is no such thing as death, and we can control death. He wants to prove his father wrong, but then he just wants to control everything around him. You get to see that when he just takes the butterfly, which I'm still mad about. I'm still mad about the butterfly not being released. I'm just like, that's gonna die. But
yeah.
I was like, no, please release the butterfly. I want it to be free. So you can obviously tell that he just wants to have control over his monster. And then with the monster, it's more about his purpose. What does the monster truly want to do? He wants a companion. And there is this thing with Mia Goth's character with Frankenstein, but also with Victor. So it's kind of like a love triangle, but it's not really. But it's just more about that connection with Mia Goth's character. There is that dichotomy of the beauty of monsters. There is that connection to be free and to be understood. Whereas Victor, he's trying to impress her with the beauty to escape death. So there is that conflict, which I thought was really interesting. But however, I do have one thing, is we should see more of Mia Goth's character, which I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, I agree. As a book written whenever it was written, I feel so uninformed. I feel ashamed. But as a book written by Mary Shelley and being this very early, prominent, celebrated work done by a woman, almost definitely there are loads of feminist readings of it. And I think her character is arguably the most interesting character in the film. And yet, I agree, I wanted to see more of her. I love how in the very first scene, Victor is like, hey, so I'm going to bring people back from the dead. And she's like, why the fuck would you want that?
What?
And he's like,
just leave them be. Just leave them
yeah.
be.
But there's this really clever thing that obviously is never said, but it's just a beautiful little element of surrealism in the film, which is that Mia Goth plays both Victor's mother and Elizabeth. There's this really interesting comment to be made about control and the fact that the whole time he's trying to control death, he's trying to control life, he's trying to control all these things, but he wants to control Elizabeth. He wants her to be with him and to reciprocate his feelings of lust, which I think towards the end he comes to terms of that being part of what made him a monster. But nevertheless, he does follow those things, and that all kind of stems from this boy who had an abusive father and loved his mother so much, and she loved him so much. She dies, and he wanted to control her ultimately and her life to keep her for himself. I think that part of him also resents his brother as well, for the sake of his brother and father had hands in the death of his mother. That was all very interesting, and the opening was really interesting to unpack that. Did you notice the weird dubbing at the start?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So I did catch one where Christoph Waltz was somewhere in the background in this winter thing while Frankenstein was looking for bodies. And then you see Christoph Waltz in the background in the winter thing. And you see him talking, but it's not his voice. I don't know what it was. It was just like, is he talking? And it wasn't timed as well. I don't know. Maybe something gone wrong. Maybe there was some sound error. It was like, oh, the sound is gone. We have to do the screaming again for Frankenstein. It would be like, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening, but I noticed it in the beginning. There's moments where Victor and his mum are speaking French, I think.
Yes.
And it's all off, and there's just numerous moments. I only really noticed it in the first act, but still I was just like, weird. There are a couple of things on a technical standpoint that did kind of catch me off guard. It's worth saying the set design in this film is absolutely amazing. The tower that they construct, the births, the creature, and all these instruments, and especially during that thunderstorm scene and the tunnel that goes through the center of it, so brilliantly designed. And the fact that it's all real and that you get to see the actors prance around and the creature discovering its own strength in these walls, and then all the streets and the forest, it all felt so incredibly brilliant and so tangible and so real. And the costuming was beautiful the whole time, but it looked weird.
Yes,
now,
because it looked very Netflixy. That's why I was
Yes!
like, why does it feel like a Netflix thing? Netflix, get out my head, get out my head. These thoughts are consuming me.
Is it because it's filmed on digital? They gave it some sort of glossy kind of smooth
I don't know.
look?
It should have been on film because it should have been a lot more distinct.
Right? It didn't have that kind of grit, that texture that I think is something that really makes other Del Toro films so amazing. And I don't think that is a problem with being shot on digital, but there's something that they have done to this film that makes it look weird. Sometimes it doesn't really matter, but I think a lot of the time it did look strange, and it especially comes into play when there's CGI happening. And there is a little bit of CGI, you know, especially some wolves that we get to see. I don't think the CGI is bad. I think that whatever the film has done to make it look...
Is it the color grading? Does Netflix have like its own filter? It's like, hey, we got to put that on.
They shot this film in 8K.
In 8K, they were like, we're gonna get everything in the blood and everything we gotta see.
There becomes a moment when we're seeing more than the human eye really needs to see, and it just felt weird. I've never felt that in a film at the cinema before. Maybe this film should have stayed on streaming. No, this is how they get you.
I wonder if Del Toro, did he ever get the creative say of, no, this should feel like Netflix? I just don't know why. It just kept bugging me. It was like, why does it feel like that? Why does the CGI? I don't know. But however, the practicality of all, as you said earlier, that does feel real. It does feel great. With the gore as well, like I didn't expect to be that gory. The monster, he takes someone's jaw out, he rips the skin of the wolf, you know, that's insane. It was like, this feels very gothic and gory. So that's interesting to see that gore element, because it is gory when they're making the Frankenstein monster and they put the eye in and leg in and yeah, that was great.
Yeah, because Victor has a prosthetic leg, and there was a moment where I thought to myself, oh my god, is he gonna give his leg to Frankenstein? But there's something even more fitting for how he does lose his leg, being blown off in the explosion that he's intending to kill the creature. Another great sequence. I don't have a great transition right now, but you'll never guess what, John.
What?
I have an email.
What? No
Yeah.
way. No
Yeah.
way. Okay.
This is from Imogen Maskell, who says,
Okay.
Hi, Tom and John. And the very first thing we have here is, I think, a Tumblr post,
A Tumblr post?
which says,
In the big 2025?
yeah, which says, enough Mpreg, give him postpartum depression. And that's Frankenstein. And they say, and then Del Toro did that. They gave him postpartum depression. And it's not wrong. It's not wrong. They did.
It's not wrong, but the way they put into words, yeah, that's a sentence.
We then have another Tumblr post, which says, can we talk about how Victor Frankenstein and his brother both wanted to fuck their mum? I thought that was going to be more relevant to the story, but no, they just happened to fall in love with the doppelganger of their dead mum, and nobody even mentions it. And yeah, I didn't even clock.
They did.
Yeah. They do. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Here's the actual email. Here's the contents of the actual email.
I was about to say, I was like,
the prelude.
there's no way someone
This is
would...
part one, Victor's Imogen's story. Here's what they say. I thought the film was stunning and a far more faithful adaptation than I was expecting. thematically and visually stunning. Victor did not think about what it would actually be to create life and is deeply affected by it when he does. His misery at only being an extension of the creature and the fatherhood he is experiencing, but is unable to be patient and caring. Unable to deal with the reality of what he has done and is instead caught up in the potential of what he could do. He tries to connect with himself with his mother's son, but instead recreates his father and repeats the cycle of violence until the very end where he accepts his son. The creature is treated in film with far more tenderness and compassion than I have previously experienced, which I felt lent well to the format of a prologue and then 2 parts. Similarly to the novel, we are told sections of the story within itself. Hope you enjoy Imogen. Thank you, Imogen. I was right! It is split into parts. Very nice.
Now we got an insight from that.
Yes.
Thank you, Imogen. Now we feel a bit more knowledgeable about Mary Shelley's book.
And also, worth mentioning, we're recording this episode in October. It's not out on Netflix yet. It's in the cinema. Imogen went to the cinema to see this. That's my goat, for real.
Hell yeah.
Everyone will get to that, don't you worry. But I love this idea. Victor, he does try to make amends, and the way that all comes crashing down. This is full spoilers massively now, but twice in the film, he causes the death of someone close to him and blames it on the creature. First of all, with Christoph Waltz character, the spectacular fall that absolutely mushes his brain. And then with Elizabeth, Mia Goth's character, I thought that was so interesting how he won't atone for his sins and won't kind of take responsibility until the very end. And both his brother and Elizabeth, as they are dying, are very much like, you're the monster, mate. You are that's the line.
Like a nonchalant,
you're the monster, mate.
talk. Yeah, I'm dying. Yeah, you're the monster. Did you know that? I'm like, no. I thought I made the monster. No, you're just
you're the monster, dude.
Yeah,
that's it.
I do love that idea. That is his character arc. There is the creation and the destruction of his relationships and his close family members. Like, they just die because of him. There was something very tragic about that, which the film does go into to the very end. He's like, yeah, I messed up. Can you forgive me?
Yes.
And what I loved as well is that I thought the monster would be on the boat, like he would just tackle all of the sailors, but he didn't.
Let's just ignore the couple that he kills. Just ignore the few sailors.
That'd be fine.
Doesn't matter. They would have died anyway.
It's like an ice cold Arctic. I don't know where it is. But
they're fine. They
are. They're fine. They're fine. But what I loved is that he pushes the boat. Oh, is it a ship or boat?
Whatever. Ship.
Whatever. Some floating device that they have, and they just put it up.
What is this strange thing?
The monster pushes into the sea, which I thought was great. It's like, we're going home, yippee!
Yes.
And then the monster.
That was really cool. I like that as a framing device, and the idea that, I will say, a couple of times it looked like all the crew members were CGI. It looked like the Polar Express or something. This is part of that weird like Netflix look of the film. I'm sure it wasn't, but just weird. I think the real tragedy of the film is that in the Arctic, when Victor and the creature have their encounter and then they meet the crew, Victor leaves the wolves behind. What happened to the wolves?
No, I thought, is it wolves or is it the dogs? Because
Huskies.
Huskies.
Yeah,
what happened to the Huskies?
They're gone. They were left.
Gone.
Do you think the creature takes them like Santa Claus? He's like,
yeah, like he collects all the wolves and he just goes on this journey across the world. It's like, yeah, I've got my Huskies with me.
There's that bit of ice that's sticking out.
Oh yeah,
honestly, he walks up it like it's the end of The Lion King. And all the wolves are like bowing.
You could do like a Breakfast Club thing, like you can go up to the ice and you just go to the air, just like you did it. Yeah.
We're really ruining the tender and powerful ending. But what Imogen says in the email, the creature is treated in the film with far more tenderness and compassion than I've previously experienced. It's true. Frankenstein so often is a villain, something that the humans like, we must destroy, as you said before, John. And I think that it's so fantastic that at the end, the captain, he lets him go and he's just like, yeah, no, we have no quarrel with you. That was beautiful. And the final thing of the creature forgiving Victor and for the final time telling him his name and letting Victor, die peacefully, even though he doesn't deserve it. He's still the creator. There's still a bond between the two of them. And that final shot of Frankenstein looking out at the sun and feeling the sun on his face, just this creature in the barren wasteland as the sun rises, just like how he feels the sun on his first day on this earth. Cinema. Holy shit, that was incredible.
That was so good to have that beautiful character arc. Frankenstein. Yeah.
Quite long. 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Do you think it's too long?
When I sat down in the cinema and I watched the movie with my two very eyes, it is long. I don't mind slow burners. We can get through anything. it did feel like a bit too long for
Yeah,
me because I
yeah.
feel like it could have had better pacing. Maybe it could have explored more with Mia Goth's character. I wonder if Gilmore wanted to have a slower pace to reflect the book, maybe. But again, I think it does help to explore more with the characters. But it is very long. It is very long, I think.
No, I agree. I appreciate the film's restraint. It's fairly well documented that Netflix likes to have its films snappy and moving fast. And I appreciate that this one goes slow because you need it to go slow. And I agree, there are stuff that is undeveloped. But at the same time, it does kind of crawl at moments. And I think we could pick up that pacing just a little bit because, yeah, it is quite long. Also, I did a triple bill at the cinema. And by the end, my ass hurt. I was really like, there
From
was
too much
barely any...
sitting. It's the
Yeah.
ass Olympics. It's like
It
sitting
was
down too much.
it was the same screen as well, you know. I was struggling.
Oh my
But no,
God.
nonetheless, it's still a great film. Now, Netflix. Why did I have so much difficulty finding this film at the cinema? Again, Netflix just needs to release its films at the cinema. Like Netflix, you and I, we talk about this often. I'm often calling you up on this and saying, like, come on.
Yeah,
Like,
why do
honestly,
you do only select theaters? Do everywhere. You make
Yeah.
money.
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 Oh my
That's what you
God.
really like. Money. So
Genuinely, I don't understand why. Like, my theatre was packed. Tuesday night, only place showing it in Manchester. People are interested, and I just can't believe that Netflix won't give these things more than just their couple of weeks, and then they're straight onto streaming.
It's wrong
ridiculous.
because it feels exclusive to
Yeah.
those that can just go to select theaters. It's like, why not do it for like maybe Cineworld or maybe Odeon or I don't know,
Yeah.
like other big companies around the world. Maybe
100%.
just give access to that rather than just in a small screen where people just don't have that same experience. It's wrong. It's wrong. We should
Yeah.
have that same experience on the big screen.
Yeah, I have a friend who had to drive 6 hours to go and see this film. And some people wouldn't be that dedicated. Some people would just say, oh, well, I'm not going to watch it. Surely you want that like $10 of revenue or how much you get from a cinema ticket. I don't know. It's stupid. Wake Up Dead Man. You better. I know that when this video comes out, we've already covered Wake Up Dead Man. We're recording this in the
Yes.
past. Wibbly wobbly timey-wimey. Just release Wake Up Dead Man more widely, please. Please.
Wildly. Yeah, somewhere in the
Wildly.
wilds that they show Wake Up Dead
Yeah.
Man. And the projection.
Screen
yeah,
it at a
someone-
lake in a forest. Yeah. I want to watch it with Jacob Elordi's Frankenstein's monster. Please.
Oh, that would be a great setting to like show it
yeah,
in the
right?
forest and like all the nature and stuff. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
actually.
I think recently I saw a picture of something projected onto an elephant. I don't know why I saw that. Was that a
Wait, no, wait,
what
wait!
the-
I
what was
I
that?
know exactly what you're talking
what is-
about.
what is
It was the
that?
one with Tenet, with the rhino or
Yes!
something.
Yes! I ordered my hot sauce an hour ago.
Cinema. I could.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Okay, Frankenstein, 2025, Frankenstein. What are you going to give it out of 10?
An 8.
Very nice. I'm going to give it a 7. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you liked it, you can like and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. And next week, now this is a movie you got to see at the cinema. Avatar, Fire and Ash. We're
This
so
is what we're
back.
waiting for. This is what we're waiting for. Woo! Yeah.
Get those 3D glasses on. I've got mine handily close. And
Me too. I got that there
And-
because I went to see Chainsaw Man.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And you can send us an email just like Imogen. Tell us your thoughts on Avatar, Fire and Ash, and we will answer it right here on the podcast next week.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Instagram at Out of Time Film Party, our incredible thumbnails from Zain, on Twitter for more thoughts from Tom and me, and TikTok to see edited clips, which are all also on Instagram, Reels, and YouTube Shorts. And you can find links to that all in the description below. Thanks to Elle for the excellent theme, and Ronan for logos as always. And I think that's everything. Take away given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.